Hello folks, I'm John Toniakos from Templafy and I'm joined here today by Tey Bannerman. Tey Bannerman, who are you?
I am Tey Bannerman.
Good answer, thanks. What do you do?
I am an independent advisor. I help companies work out what to do with AI and then work out how to implement it well.
Let's get to know you a little bit. What's your favourite movie?
Children of Men.
Oh,
Yeah.
Fantastic choice. Very, very good. Clive Owen, fantastic.
I love the one take shots going through war zones, yeah.
Favourite album?
I'm gonna go two.
Oh,
Arctic Monkeys and Jay-Z, The Blueprint.
very strong choices. Thank you. And so everyone's talking about AI right now. From where you sit, what do you think most companies are getting wrong?
Most companies are rushing to buy solutions as opposed to starting with what are the real problems and opportunities in our organization where AI tools could meaningfully solve things for us.
So why is speed alone not the same as progress?
Because speed without strategy is just chaos.
Fair play. What risks do you see then when speed becomes the main focus rather than value?
I think when speed becomes the main focus, you tend to have the wrong metrics. You tend to have metrics like, okay, how many people are using this and not are they actually using this meaningfully to change the way they work in a way that drives value to the company. And so you tend to have a mismatch between where the real value would be and what you're actually measuring and optimizing for.
So what happens in an organization when AI starts producing content faster than people can evaluate or govern it?
I think two things. You very potentially erode trust with customers and anyone that's consuming content. And two, you lose the ability to understand the impact that content is having because you're not able to actually monitor, measure, and actually understand the quality.
Good answer so far. So why is context the most underestimated factor in GenAI today?
Yeah, I mean, context is everything. I mean, GenAI, large language models are general purpose tools and technology. Without context of this is my specific scenario, specific situation, specific workflow, you tend to get very generic outputs. And so I think a lot of companies are getting very generic outputs that may not be aligned with how they actually work because they're missing the fact that context is so important.
So what actually happens then when AI doesn't understand business context, brand, or intent?
You get very generic output that doesn't cut through, where consumers or customers or the public immediately see this as AI generated, erodes trust, erodes brand value, brand equity.
From your experience, what separates companies that get great value from GenAI
Yeah.
from those that just experiment?
Having a very, very clear strategy to say, here is the future that we're building. Here is in 1 year, 2 years, what the company that we're building is going to look like. And here's how AI is helping us in that new future. So being very clear on what we're moving towards and not just, hey, we're bringing in a bunch of different tools or we're rushing to implement something that might not actually be aligned with a clear vision.
Most companies already have brand guidelines, content, and deep business knowledge. Why has orchestrating all that information, especially with AI, become harder than creating it?
Oh, great question. I think orchestrating when you have a large volume of content and guidelines and rules is generally difficult because you need to bring kind of disparate pieces of information together in a cohesive way that drives towards a specific outcome. And so I think companies that are investing more in that orchestration as opposed to the content itself are, are tending to see far better results because they're going, okay, we have this pool of customers. How do we ensure that the message that we're getting to them is the right one at the right time for their particular use case? And that all comes from orchestration.
So what does good orchestration look like in practice?
In practice, it looks like a very clear understanding of the outputs and outcomes that you're optimizing for, and two very clear paths that an orchestrator can kind of run through and pull from in order to get to those outcomes. So it's not just, hey, we have a lot of information and data and we're just kind of pulling it through to somewhere. It's being very clear on what's the objective and outcome and what's the orchestrator optimizing for each of those paths that you're going out to.
Fantastic. So why is consistency so critical when AI starts touching customer-facing content?
Good question. It's important because of trust and because of brand equity, but it's also important because you can get wildly different results depending on how you're using an AI tool or AI model. And so because it's not deterministic, because you type on day 1, day 2, day 3, you type the same thing into ChatGPT or Copilot, you'll get 3 different outputs. And so having some kind of mechanism or guardrails that ensure that you can trust the output that you're getting is aligned to your brand, your guidelines, and so on, is critical when you have a technology that doesn't give you the same result every time.
So looking ahead, what will define the companies that win with AI over the next 2 or 3 years?
The companies that win will be the ones that have a clear vision and strategy and have clearly laid out, here is that future vision for that company that we're building. Here is how people are going to work. Here's the reason why they're going to do things the way they are. And I think that's going to look very different to the companies that are just incrementally adding things on without a clear idea of what they're building towards.
So what advice would you give leaders that want to create AI that has real business impact?
Yeah. Start with just a very clear strategy that's aligned to what's the business impact we're optimizing for, and therefore what is that company or vision that we're trying to build. And then that helps you work backwards to what is the talent we need, what are the technologies that we need to invest in, what is the education and training that we need to kind of put in place for our employees, what's the data that we need. But that all works backwards from having a clear vision and strategy.
Fantastic. Well, as you know, Templafy have recently launched our prompt to PowerPoint solution.
Yes.
You want to take a look?
Let's do it. Hey.
How's it going?
Fantastic, thanks. How are you?
Thanks for coming over. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Should we take a look?
Let's do it. Yeah, looking forward to it. So, yeah, tell me a little bit about what you guys have created.
Yeah, we've launched what we call Templafy Liberate, which means we're opening up Templafy for everyone.
Nice.
And essentially what you're now able to do is to, take Templafy for a spin. So write whatever you want in terms of getting to a deck, into a prompt, iterate over it with the software and look at the results.
Awesome. So I have a good friend that has a company that runs events. What she's looking at doing is just creating a very small kind of almost like a mini pitch deck that explains to people what the company does, what kind of success they've had. So I'm seeing, okay, can I just kind of very quickly put an initial kind of deck and flow together that tells that story and that kind of, just solidifies a bit, here's what we're all about.
Yeah. Cool. It does leverage web search and stuff. So
excellent. So I have a URL in there.
Yeah, it should be able to kind of pick up some stuff. And in case you don't notice, there's also these options to either be quick or very thorough. So
excellent.
Yeah, your choice.
So I like that it's immediately kind of given me back information that gives me the confidence that it's found the right company, it's done a web search, it's actually saying, hey, based on the information I've found, this is what HubDat actually does. Nice. Okay. Follow-up questions, which version? Let's go. I'm just going to copy something from the website.
Add as much context as possible to just ultimately get better outputs. But once you're happy with it, you can always just skip and continue. Yeah.
Okay. It's starting to actually fill in content and give me titles for slides. Very cool. The speed is incredible. It took under a minute. Wow.
You got the slide?
Yeah. It's picked up all the actual facts from the website. It's kind of structured into a really good storyline.
Yeah, you're ex-McKinsey, right?
Yeah.
Well, you must have lived half your life in PowerPoint then.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing I look for is, okay, do the titles that lead each slide, are they telling the right story? Because most of the time, that's what the reader is going to look at first.
Yeah.
And, we almost have a rule, like that title should be able to tell the entire story of the slide
100%,
in 10 words.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's something that this has done really well. It's taken the context and it's actually gone, okay, what is the message across the sequence of slides, and how can each title actually kind of, tell a different part of that story?
Yeah. It's supposed to be pretty similar to if a really skilled person actually did this.
Yeah. And I mean, I've used Claude and ChatGPT's PowerPoint creation tools. What I always find a bit frustrating is that what it spits out, it creates more elements than it needs to. There might be a text box and it's kind of created 3 text boxes instead. But I mean, this is super aligned with how, I mean, I've been working with PowerPoint for a decade. It's how I would actually create elements within a PowerPoint page. So it's very logical, which I like. Images, the imagery, is that contextual as well, or is that just from a set template?
It is contextual. It's one of the areas, like, for example, in an enterprise setup where you could put more controls and guardrails, you would be even more deliberate.
Yeah.
In this is kind of, we gave it like a bunch of images that it's then trying to put into context. So
I see.
it tries to be very deliberate on what goes where. Everything is fully editable. PowerPoint. So it's like, it's just a PowerPoint, but it's pretty easy to continue to iterate over.
Yeah, and there's still some refinement to be done, some kind of, but to get from a blank page to this, it really kind of shifts the focus from I need to get something to exist to I need to just get something right because this has helped me make it exist. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If I think about what I would have done to get to this point without using this, it's probably 2.5 to 3.5 hours that I would have sat there kind of thinking through the story and so on, and then actually getting to this point. So that's super impressive.
What we're trying to do here is like, it's good enough to throw anything at it. It will give you a pretty good starting point, at least. And hopefully that's going to be helpful for people.
Absolutely. I mean, my only piece of feedback would be where I started, a super simple screen with just a single box, really hid the power of the actual output I'm seeing. So I sat there and I went, okay, this is going to give me something super simple, super basic, but the output I'm getting has taken into account my context, has pulled in information, has created something super strong. And so I think the only thing I'd suggest is, how can you guys almost sell the right message up front? So that people can sit there and go, okay, what I'm going to get out of this is going to be impressive, and not what I'm going to get out of this is going to be as simple as what I'm initially looking at. Does that make sense?
That's good feedback. A little bit less under promise and
deliver.
But you're right. We have been focusing on really delivering astonishing results. But it's a really good point. We could actually promise a little bit more on the upfront.
Yeah. Awesome. Great work. Good stuff.
Thanks for having a look.
Thanks for having me.